The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission. The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival, comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
I'm back in a familiar spot.
Yeah. We're putting the band back together.
One morning only.
Okay. All right. Carol, how are you?
Oh, Mal, I'm just so good.
Good,
and
good, good,
just
good,
so
good.
happy to be with you and Java.
Yeah, we were off last week. I had the COVID, as they say.
And I had phantom COVID because you had
COVID.
it.
Anyway, we both were out, and things carried on. I think they played the show from the one about our friends from the Test Kitchen, America's Test Kitchen. It was a great show. Anyway,
Tony Tipton Martin.
Yeah.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience.
So, you know, it's summertime, and the living's easy, and
the fish
catfish are jumping, and the cotton is high.
And the brim are jumping where I live.
The brim. And for me, it's just trying to grow tomatoes and focusing on local produce. I was blessed. I had a drop off at my house midweek. My friend Malin McAdams brought me some squash, cucumbers, peppers. And, I mean, it was my first real produce run of the year. Now, I picked my own first tomato this week, so I've got 6 tomato plants, and we'll see how that goes. But so far, so good.
I've been visited by the tomato fairy.
Oh, have you now?
Yeah, I got just a load of tomatoes when I came home the other night, about 15 tomatoes sitting
Just
on the
waiting.
table by my back door.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
So-
a neighbor named Brian Jones from Pelahatchie, who has a place out near us in Edwards, played tomato fairy. Then the corn fairy came on Saturday.
You know, I had a little corn in my offering as well. I think I had 6 ears, and you know what I did? I shaved some of it uncooked and put it in a cornbread batter and made a small batch of cornbread with that corn in it. And the reason I did the reason I did that is I had that at the mashup, the Crazy Cat. I'd had it at Crazy Cat. It was a dinner item there a couple of weeks ago when we dined for dinner, and they had fresh corn in the cornbread. So I thought, I'll try that. Now, I'll tell you the truth, my cornbread wasn't worth a hoot.
You're kidding.
It wasn't very good.
I hope
You know,
didn't-
cornbread and biscuits, they always sort of...
Yeah, biscuits are
Keep me-
tough. Biscuits are still tough for me.
I'm
but
okay with it,
You know,
but-
cornbread is.
I can't ever get it moist and spongy and yet crisp the way I want it. I don't know. My grandmother,
Are
she
you
ruined
using
me.
cast iron?
Yeah.
Are you using bacon fat?
Yeah, I put a little bacon fat in there. I don't know. I think it's one of those things, if you don't make it often, you don't make it very well.
Yeah. It's something, Malcolm, I believe we should ponder.
Yeah, we should always ponder
I know,
these
we need
things.
some advice. Any cornbread advice out there in Radio Land this morning?
So one of the things that I did with my produce, I took the cucumbers, and my grandson Wilder and I made pickles, one of my favorite things to do. He loves pickles, I love pickles, and so we made a batch, and they're really good. I tasted them this morning. They're almost ready. They're refrigerator pickles, you know, just a quick batch. And I'll tell you what I do. Of course, I add vinegar and seasonings and the various things, onions that I want in there. But I use leftover pickle brine from other jars of pickles. I use so many pickles that I recycle the brine. And sometimes I mix, the sweet and the dill. And the base of this batch of pickles is a bread and butter pickle. But anyway, they're really good.
I'll be waiting for some.
They're a lot of fun to make.
I've wondered over the years if your deep love and affinity for pickles has anything to do with being from Stone County near Wiggins, which is the pickle capital of Mississippi, if not America.
Well, it was once the pickle capital of the world.
That's
the largest pickle factory.
That's bold.
It was the largest pickle factory in the world, Brown and Miller. But no more. It's not there anymore.
Well, but do you think that has something to do with your love for the pickle?
I think it probably does. Yes. Yes, I'm a pickle person. A pickle
indeed.
picker.
Yes, indeed.
A pickle picker. In the news, other news, Carol, you sent me a couple of really great articles to read in the last week or so. One was about a dish called hot coleslaw or hot slaw.
Hot slaw. It's a Cincinnati thing.
And I never had it, and I checked with my friends from Kentucky and Ohio who sort of grew up there, and I haven't found anybody yet who knows much about it. But it's a cabbage dish made with, after you warm up the vinegar and the dressing and you pour it over the cold cabbage, and it makes a hot slaw. So if we have any hot slaw enthusiasts out there,
let's talk about it.
have you ever had it?
No, I hadn't, but I mean, I don't think there's a road trip to Cincinnati in my very near future. But I would like to experience it. It's their deal.
Yeah. Well, they have that other thing that I'm not fond of, and that's that that sweet spaghetti stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The one-way, two-way, three-way, four-way, all of that.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Not interested. Had it, been there, tried it. Didn't care for it, but, c'est la vie, my friend.
Yeah.
Also, you sent me a great article about wooden spoons. And, it's interesting that you sent me that. Kara and I were talking about wooden spoons just like 2 days before, and what we were talking about, she was giving me I always need a tutorial in things, particularly in the kitchen. She was giving me a tutorial on what to put in the dishwasher and what not to put in the dishwasher. And we had this discussion about our wooden spoons. And then you send me this article about wooden spoons, and I'm thinking, the wooden spoon gods are talking to me.
Yeah, they're talking to you. And I love to talk about what not to put in the dishwasher. I owned the Everyday Gourmet for 30 years, and I specialize in talking about not putting fine cookware, fine knives, or wooden spoons in the dishwasher.
Well, I had been guilty of putting all of the above in the dishwasher. But anyway, you're never too old to learn new tricks, so I pay attention. One thing, I was putting plastics down on the bottom.
No.
You don't do that. If you're going to put them in the dishwasher, you put them up on the top, which is less heat, right?
Well, we'll talk about wooden spoons for a minute, but I did want to tell you about something I saw on Twitter the other day about some woman writes in and says, my fiance and blah, 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 blah. We were cooking dinner, and he put my 10-inch cast iron skillet in the dishwasher. Should I marry him? And there were like 500 comments. No, get him out of the house. And then other people were saying, that was a great effort, the fact that he did the dishes. But do not put cast iron in the dishwasher.
No.
But back to the wooden spoon. People need to pay more attention to the wooden spoon. It doesn't scratch your cookware.
Right. That seemed to be the greatest point they were making in the article was it doesn't scratch.
And they're lovely. They feel good in your hand. You can you wash and clean them real well. You can oil them with mineral oil, which I do a couple of times a year. We used to sell a lot of olive wood spoons.
I think the article said they preferred maple.
Maple is there, for the hardness, of it. But, some people think that, they hold bacteria. I mean, if you keep them clean, they really don't. And it's better from a bacteria standpoint not to put them in not to put them in the dishwasher.
Right.
And also to really let them dry out.
Right. Yeah. It said not to, don't put them away wet because they can attract bacteria. So, here for the wooden spoon. I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, what a great thing to collect. It's a good local product made from, recycled local wood. And anywho, that's the wooden spoon thing.
But if you do think you're getting into a bacteria situation, you just need to wipe them down with a little hydrogen peroxide or like a diluted.
Like a vinegar wash or something?
Well, or take a little bit of Clorox
Clorox,
or a bleach and dilute it before you do it.
I've been diluted before, so I understand how that works. So I got a note the other day from an old friend of mine that I went to high school with, Susan Steen Meredith. She lives in Oxford now. Her husband, Tom, was the director of IHL in Mississippi for years.
Remember.
And Susan and I went to Boonville High School together, and we were great friends. Her father was, at one time, mayor of Boonville. And Susan said, I'm going through my mother's things, and I've gotten to the cookbooks, and I've started weeding through the cookbooks, and I found one in here that belonged to your mother, Jane. And I just thought I would send it to you. So she mails me this cookbook. I had no idea what cookbook it was. So in the mail, I get the 1970 Congressional Club cookbook.
Wow.
And the reason that I gifted this to my mom, Jane, was because I had worked in D.C. for 3 summers, 69, 70, and 71, and I always bring some sort of a gift home. And then in 1970, I had brought this Congressional Cookbook. And the Congressional Cookbook is very much a community cookbook. And most of the recipes are you guessed it, wives of the members. So it's Mrs. John C. Stennett, Mrs.
Yeah, Mrs. Malcolm White.
So forth and so on.
Yes.
But in this book, there was a small section where the men contributed their recipes. So it's an interesting book. It is inscribed to Jane from Mao, 1970. But the thing I want to talk about is there's this dish up there, the bean soup.
Yes, the Senate bean
legendary,
soup. Yes.
Legendary. It says bean soup has been a featured item at the House of Representatives restaurant long before the day in 1904 when Speaker Cannon of Illinois came into the restaurant, ordered bean soup. It was a typically hot and humid summer day in Washington, and he was informed that there was no bean soup that day. And he said, I had my mouth set for bean soup. And he continued, from this day forward, hot, cold, rain, snow, shine, I want it on the menu. He was the Speaker of the House. So it has been bean soup on the menu every day since 1904. And herein is the recipe. It's about as simple as it gets. 2 pounds of number 1 Michigan white beans, covered with cold water, soaked overnight, drained and recovered with water. Add a smoked ham hock and simmer slowly for about 4 hours until the beans are cooked tender. Then add salt and pepper to taste. Just before serving, bruise the beans with a large, in our case, wooden spoon or ladle, just enough to cloud them. And is the
there's
recipe.
the famous bean soup recipe. But I want to go back to what you were saying about Mrs. and Mrs. and all these, all these recipes. And that was the style.
Right.
Back then, a woman didn't use her own name. But we need to look at the cookbook from today. Because think of how things change.
The Congressional Cookbook.
Yes,
yeah.
because
I'll
now
have to
that
get a
women,
copy.
we are taking over the world.
Right.
And the Congress. So the cookbook has to be now full of spouses' recipes.
Of course.
Not just a little section for men. But we need to put that on our list to see what's going on.
Okay, we've got a caller, but before we take the call, Carol, I wanted to remind you that Leanne Galt and I, will be in Vicksburg at the Catfish Alley Museum on Saturday, July the 12th.
That's part of the Summer Chef series.
Correct, at the Catfish Alley Museum. Leanne will be cooking, and I will be running my mouth.
Yes, I was
We're both equally
Yes.
talented in those areas.
in those two areas. But what will Leanne be cooking?
She is cooking catfish picante and Elfo's special, which is a dish from Memphis.
From the Grisanti
From
family.
the Grisanti family, and it is a shrimp and spaghetti type dish. And then the catfish is catfish picante, which, we're all familiar
But
with.
what a great pairing, Leanne Galt and Malcolm White.
Very excited about it. It's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, July the 12th. If you find yourself in the River City or you're looking for something fun to do, just motor on over and see Leanne and I there. All right, we got a caller. I don't know who it is, but I know they're calling about cornbread. So what's going on out there in cornbread world?
We got
The cornbread. You talking about cooking it. One thing that my mom told me about cornbread is when you mix it, let it sit and use the self-rising meal.
Right.
But let it sit until it puffs up.
So it puffs up. Okay.
Until it kind of gathers itself together.
There's
Yeah,
chemical
well,
reactions going on in there.
Well, to the self-rising part in the meal kicks in.
Gotcha.
And if you put it in a bowl and mix it and put
We're losing you, Homer. We lost you right there.
I think we lost Homer out there in Clarksdale.
Well, we appreciate Homer listening and giving us a call. His main point was after you mix the batter, let it sit.
Yes, until
Before-
it starts puffing up and it activates the self-rising flour.
And then the other thing from me is make sure the oil in the skillet is about as hot as it can be because I want a fried crust on the bottom as well as the top.
Exactly. Do you pour any of the hot oil into the middle of your cornbread before you pour your cornbread?
No, I put it in room temperature. I put oil in the mix, but I just put oil in the skillet and pour the batter on top of it. I don't put the hot oil. I've seen that happen, but
yeah.
is that what you do?
You know, I get my bacon grease really hot, and then I pour just a little bit in the center of the mix before I pour the whole mix into the skillet.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, let's see. 4th of July is coming up, and I don't have any great plans. I don't know about you, Carol. No?
Watermelon.
Brim fishing and
watermelon.
July the 6th is National Fried Chicken Day, and there is
Now,
something
there's
to
something
celebrate.
to celebrate. Yes.
We should
Yep.
put that on our calendars.
I celebrated fried chicken yesterday.
Well, good for you. Java, you got any 4th of July plans, my man?
Yeah, we're gonna cook out and stuff. I'm actually waiting for our guest Heath to come on because I need to ask him about cooking, barbecuing while it's so hot outside. Like, how does you manage the open flame? And
I'll
it's
tell
like
you how you
already,
manage it.
it's
You
already
just
100
sweat.
It's already 100 degrees outside, and then you're gonna stand in front of this 200-degree flame. I don't know. It's just I need some tips.
Here you go. Get you a bag of ice. Put it on your head
and just do the work.
and just keep grilling.
They're gonna put me to work, but it's gonna be hot.
All right, we're going to take a break and come back. Carol, we've got a very special guest
I have
that
our
you've
good
invited.
friend, Thabi Moyo. I always just love to say her name.
Thabi Moyo.
What a fabulous woman.
Thabi and I used to work together at MDA. She was in the film office, and I was over in tourism, and we were...
She's a Renaissance woman.
Absolutely. And she's going to talk to us about the National Folk Festival. And then in our third segment, we've got Heath Riles, who is the recent champion of the Memphis in May barbecue. So we got a lot going on. So stick with us. We'll take a short break and be right back with more Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival, comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White, Carol Palmer,
and Thabi Moyo.
Thabi Moyo has joined us in the studio.
I am
Moyo
here.
in the studio.
Oh, sounds like some bars to me.
But before we dive into the National Folk Festival, we've got a caller. We've got Trish Ellsberg is calling regarding our earlier conversation about cornbread. Hello, Trish.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. I wanted to share with y'all that I made inedible cornbread until my husband and I married, and his mother taught me how to make cornbread. She used no eggs. She used no shortening or oil or bacon grease. She used a big blob of mayonnaise, depending on how much cornmeal you use. You adjusted the mayonnaise, but you put a good amount of oil in the skillet.
Okay.
You put meal in the skillet. You heated the skillet as hot as you could get it, and then you poured your cornbread in there, your mix.
Your mix.
And it was wonderful, and I still make cornbread that way, 50-some-odd years later.
Malcolm, this is radical.
Well, I put mayonnaise in my cornbread mix.
Well, you didn't confess to that.
I did not. I guess I'd forgotten, but it still, mine wasn't very good, even though I put fresh corn and mayonnaise in it.
You didn't put enough mayonnaise.
Didn't put enough mayonnaise. Okay.
That's the problem.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm going to keep trying. Thabi, you a cornbread maker?
I am a cornbread maker.
Talk about it.
Well, I learned from my mom. She makes it from scratch. And so by default, I think I make mine from scratch as well. But I always, in the pinch, use what I need to use to make it happen for dinner. Love cornbread. And this is my first time hearing of mayo in cornbread. So that's something
you heard it right
that I might
here
try myself.
On Deep South Dining. But I have tried that before. As I told Carol while you were still waiting to join us, I think the thing about cornbread and biscuits is if you don't make it very often, you don't make it very well. So I think it's one of those things that if you make it over and over and over, and it becomes just
muscle memory.
Right. And then it gets really good.
Yeah. Now biscuits, I need some work, but cornbread, I think I got that down.
Okay, so you have a newish gig.
Yeah, 6 months into it.
6 months.
About 6
you are
months.
the local manager of the National Folk Festival, which will be held here in Jackson.
November 7th through the 9th this year, and then the second weekend of November for the next 2 years.
Right. And here's the thing, folks. If you've not heard about the National Folk Festival, it originated in our nation's capital. It used to be in D.C. for many, many, many years. And then they came up with this idea of let's take it on the road. And they devised this concept whereby they would take it to communities would apply to be selected. Once they were selected, the National Folk Festival would go to their town. They would help them organize and produce it for 2 years in that town, and then go away, and the town itself would produce their own folk festival.
You got it right.
It works really magically in some places like Richmond, Virginia.
Yep. Raleigh, North Carolina.
And there's some places where it hasn't worked, where they've gone in for 2 years, produced the National Folk Festival, gone away, and the community just was unable to sustain it. And we don't want to be in that group.
We won't be in that group. I feel like with the leadership and the folks who are the stakeholders who are at the table, I feel really strongly like that Jackson will continue on beyond year 3. It's actually 3 years that they come to a community.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No.
3 years. So we'll have their help and assistance and expertise for 3 years, and then when they leave, we take it over as a community and run it ourselves. Then it becomes either the Jackson Folk Festival, or the Mississippi Folk Festival, or whatever.
That is correct.
Or Jubilee Jam 2.0.
Exactly. And for the folks who might not know, but the National Folk Festival is the oldest multicultural celebration of traditional arts in the country. It was founded by Sarah Gertrude Nod, and it gives all of the American artistic traditions a platform, equal footing. So just wanted to mention that.
So what is that going to look like in Jackson?
It'll look like 3 days, November 7th through the 9th, 6 stages. Our main artery will be Capitol Street, and so we'll move off from there to different areas where you'll have an acoustic stage, you'll have a dance tent, you'll have different food, 4 different food courts. You'll have a marketplace to shop with crafts vendors. You'll have a Mississippi Folklife area that's being curated by the Mississippi Arts Commission. So they have a whole stage that celebrates everything that's Mississippi. So really exciting. But on Friday we open up at 6 to 9:30. Saturday will be 12 to 9:30. Sunday will be 12 to 6. And then that'll do it for the weekend. But it'll be folks in downtown Jackson. Look a lot like Jubilee Jam 2.0, as Java mentioned. Which was
our local festival some years ago that Malcolm started.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really start it. I produced it and booked it
it.
for a lot of years. John Maxey and David Ingebrigtsen actually were the founders. But, and it began, Jubilee Jam, it began very much in the spirit of what you just described, Thabi. It was we weren't able. Well, we kept it going for a very long time.
Yeah,
but
right, we had some rain.
we had some rain. We had some financing issues.
What month was it produced in?
It was in the summer.
Y'all dared to do the
May
summer.
or June. It was hot. Yeah. I don't remember.
Well, November won't be hot, so that's a good thing about this festival.
But then you're fighting college football. But that's okay. Yeah. You know, you got to fight. You got to pick your battles.
Exactly. Hopefully, will be a compliment. And we've looked at the schedules. There are some big games, but we feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, and we're here to talk about food.
Yeah.
And that's because, Carol, you are serving on the committee.
Yes. I serve at the will of Thabi.
Okay.
She is my leader.
But you're on the committee for the food for the folk festival.
We're looking at for food vendors, and we really want to have an experience that people can not only sample, like your fair food, your Mr. Turkey Leg, chicken on a stick, those type of things, but from a culture standpoint, we want to celebrate Mississippi food.
So we'd see a tamale stand, some biscuits, some fried pies.
That's exactly what
we're
looking
for. Got to have
for.
a tamale stand.
Yeah, local foods.
Yeah.
Cultural.
Yeah, and our goal is
nature.
to celebrate Mississippi culinary roots and diversity from, like you said, the Delta tamales all the way to Vietnamese po' boys. So at our first couple of meetings, we talked a lot about the different types of cultures that were represented in Mississippi, and that is our hope, is that it gets a stage and to be represented at the festival. That's
great. A banh mi at the music festival.
I would love to have a little Vietnamese banh mi on Capitol Street in Jackson.
You ought to be able to make that work. And maybe some Tex-Mex or some...
Yeah, and some of our local staples. I mean, stamps. I would love to see them out there. I'd love to see Big Apple Inn. You mentioned a company or a restaurant with fried pies. I would love to see that.
Yeah, fried pies are very Mississippi.
Yeah, we want people to walk away feeling like they tasted Mississippi.
You got to have some comeback with something.
Oh,
maybe fried chicken and comeback.
Yes, we need soul food. So right now we are in the process, and the deadline is rolling until we fill all of the slots. So we still have some slots to fill, and we would love to fill that with those Mississippi culinary rooted restaurants and foods.
And if someone's listening who's interested in maybe having a food booth, what would they do?
They would go to nationalfolkfestival.com and go to apply, or you can email us at food@nationalfolkfestival.com to get information. But we are definitely still looking and excited about filling in the gaps.
Great.
Yeah, and I would love to hear from people out there in Radio Land of what they want to see in food. I mean, we have our ideas.
Yeah.
What else is out there? What else do you, is there Choctaw food we need to have? What are you interested in that says Mississippi?
Right. Yeah, so, of course, as you said, you want the usual suspects, but you also want some more interesting, culturally significant foodways represented.
And
how about a tomato sandwich?
I think that the tomato sandwich, or a Vicksburg open tomato sandwich, the little
Vicksburg sandwich.
But Thabi.
But it will be fall, so tomatoes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. That would be heresy.
What about green tomatoes in the fall?
Fried green tomatoes?
Tomatoes.
Yeah, that seems...
With some comeback.
Listen, I think you're onto something.
Now we're talking.
Whoever makes comeback. Is that Mayflower makes some comeback?
Man, there's 100 comebacks in the city.
We could have a comeback tasting.
Oh, I love that.
We should have a comeback competition.
I like that.
Earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And then the winner gets the comeback crown.
I think that might stick. That idea might stick. I will put it out there.
We'll start with the origin, which was the rotisserie recipe, the Denneries. They had the first comeback. They introduced comeback to us. So maybe we could get John Dennery to kind of be the judge, be one of the judges.
Would love that.
Since his family brought the comeback from technically, it was a Southern thing, but they were Greek Americans, and they used a lot of their imagination to use Greek influences to make the comeback.
And Thabi, you may not know this, but Malcolm is the statewide authority on comeback. He actually wrote the piece for the Encyclopedia of Southern Culture.
That is amazing.
And so when national magazines and publications need info on comeback, he is the king.
Well, that sounds like it needs to be at the folk festival.
Yeah.
And for those who are uninitiated, and I bring this up because me and my wife, we were at Hallamals on Friday, and she did not know comeback was birthed here in Jackson, and I had to type it in Google, and even AI knows comeback started in Jackson, Mississippi. Wow. So
that's kind of an oversight. I'm so happy that I'm here to learn this because I think that is absolutely necessary.
Sure.
And we also need, if somebody's out there just selling comeback, there's a place for you in the marketplace. You can come with your goods and sell in the marketplace.
A lot of restaurants, Chriselle's, maybe the Mayflower. There are a number of restaurants who commercially package their comeback and sell it. So maybe you could get a nice array of those in the marketplace.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, that's where I should be working, is in the marketplace. After 35 years at the Everyday Gourmet and the Viking Cooking School and Viking
there's
Store,
room for you.
finding food products. But Thabi, I see you in and around Jackson everywhere. As I said earlier, you are a Renaissance woman. You're a filmmaker and a curator of all good things. So how did you get to be you?
I think that my father being from Zimbabwe has probably a lot to do with why I appreciate culture the way that I do. My mom just being from Mississippi and Jackson is why I love the city like I do. So I think the combination of those two things has just manifested itself into what I do today. I really just want to see the city that raised me be as awesome as it possibly can be. And that's what the driving force is. And I just hope that people who see that and see me do the work, understand the vision and support it by either showing up or trying to become involved in some way. But I do it because I really love this place.
Well, it really, warms my heart that you actually went away from Jackson. I think did you go to Howard?
I did. After leaving Murrah, shout out Mustangs.
And Java.
1400.
I'm a Mustang.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
wow, look at that. That's Kendra's.
I'm not.
It's okay.
Boonville.
It's okay.
I'm the redneck in the crowd.
If you were in Jackson in high school, you would have been a Mustang.
There you go.
But I did. I left. I went to Howard, and there, that is where honestly I just gained this appreciation for Africans in the diaspora. When I looked around and I saw the different cultures represented there, it just was overwhelming in all the right ways. And I majored in film, so I became a storyteller. I was in the band, and so I call myself a band geek. But I think I've just always been steeped in arts and culture in a way that maybe others haven't. But I just really have such an appreciation for that. But even after Howard, I came home. I worked with Crossroads Film Festival, Jackson Free Press, and then after that, got an opportunity to go to New York to work for a bit. But worked on films along the way that really helped me understand my history and heritage in Mississippi and just, again, gain more appreciation for the place that I'm from. And then eventually and then traveled the world for a little while with Cassandra Wilson doing photography and videography. And so, again, just steeped in arts and culture all around and bringing all of that back. Because every time I saw something out in the world, I would always think about home and how I could do that here. So I feel like Jackson is a playground, and I just play.
Well, we appreciate and we wish that there were more of you. I hope, more people like you will come home because you are a part and a leader of the Jackson Renaissance. Malcolm, we need to go to the Union Market. That should be on our list.
Yeah, I should absolutely
Yeah,
come.
before we get you off there, tell us about that. It's another venture that you and Enrica and a bunch of people started.
Union Market actually is a Jackson Redevelopment Authority baby. So they discovered the Mill Street Viaduct, downtown Jackson, across from Union Station, and in 2007 or before, like in 1927, this is the history of it, the train tracks were raised. And so underneath there became a putt-putt golf place. So that was in the 1920s. And so people...
Who knew?
Right. The history is amazing. And so people from the train station would come as they waited for trains, and the hotel would come over and play putt-putt. And then years passed, Hertz Rental Car used it for storage. And then in 2007, I think it was either Frank Melton or Mayor Harvey Johnson, they did an $11 million renovation and created an open-air market, but it never opened. And so until the new leadership, Christopher Pike and Yolanda Owens over at JRA, discovered this space, and they said they wanted to open the market. So then they were like, well, we don't know how to run a market, so who does? And so they did some research and their due diligence, and they reached out to Magnolia Sunset Markets to come and help them activate the space. And even though I had, my hand in the folk festival, I couldn't say no to that opportunity, because it's not about me, it's about community and creating these spaces for community to gather and to be celebrated. And I just thought, when I saw the space, it was amazing, and it is absolutely something for everyone to experience.
When is it open?
So the next date is July 19th and then August 23rd. So right now it's just once a month for the summer, and then we'll have holiday markets the 13th and 14th the 22nd and 23rd of November, and then the 13th and 14th of December.
There's one piece of your history you left out. There was a restaurant and a bar in that location that Vish Bhatt was the chef of. It was owned by David Beria and Marcy Beria, and it was quite a spot for a while. I can't remember the name of it, but
that's amazing.
We'll get that added to
Yeah, we'll love it.
to
Yeah,
your
please.
history.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it was fun. It didn't last long, but it was a great little spot.
It's a great space.
Now, you're also co-founder of the Magnolia Sunset Markets. Is that different from the Union?
So we're just activating the space. So we're taking the Magnolia Sunset framework and plugging
Same
it
thing.
into So it's kind of like Magnolia Sunset Markets at Union Market
Right
on.
until it becomes its own thing.
That's cool.
All right, we got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have the 2025 Memphis in May World Grand Champion Heath Riles is joining us from Heath Riles BBQ. Thabi, you're welcome to stick around if you'd like. If you need to go, we understand. If you want to talk about barbecue, we're getting ready to throw down.
Sure.
All right, great. We'll be back with Heath, Carol, Java, Thabi, and myself after a very short break.
The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White, Carol Palmer, Thabi Moyo on the radio, and Java Chatman. And we're joined now by our very special guest from all the way from Ashland, Mississippi. Heath Riles is with us. Heath, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Great. Thanks for joining us this morning. And congratulations. It looks like you won it all.
Well, I don't know about one at all, but I've gotten lucky a few times.
You've been at this a while. I understand you started very young. You were 18 years old when you started smoking, grilling, and barbecuing. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, kind of got into it with my dad. He run the local co-op gas and oil division at one time, and he was also a volunteer fireman and a part-time sheriff's deputy.
Okay.
And so they had local fundraisers every year at the fire department where they cook chicken halves and things like that. And so I got involved with starting to help with that. And there was my best friend in high school, his uncle, kind of cooked barbecue in these contests. And so it kind of piqued my interest in cooking. And we went with my best friend at the time's uncle and kind of got a feel for it. And he said, if you guys are going to do this, you need to build your own grill. So me being a cocky 17-year-old, I went out and took welding in school.
Good for you.
And I built my own first grill. And we started cooking contests, and I just kind of never have looked back. There's been a lot of humps in the road, but now we are, I'd like to say, probably one of Mississippi's top seasoning companies out there.
And you sell your products as well as compete, right?
I don't compete like I used to. We only cook in really 2 to 3 contests a year now, with Memphis and May being one of them.
Uh-huh.
We just don't have the time now. We're exporting seasonings to 14 countries, and we take care of close to, over 15,000 retail locations in the United States, including Walmart, Kroger, Academy Sports, Publix, just to name a few.
Yeah, I've seen it out there. Now, Thabi, this would be a great marketplace item for you for the National Folk Festival.
I agree. Well, he's welcome. You're welcome to come on down to the National Folk Festival and join us.
Yeah. And let me ask you this question, Heath. I ask this of every smoker, griller, barbecuer who comes on the show or that I meet. There's Kansas City barbecue, there's Memphis style, there's Alabama sauce, there's Texas barbecue. Does Mississippi have its own unique and standalone barbecue style?
I want to say probably no. But there's also a lot of misconceptions around the Memphis area with us being so close to Memphis. A lot of the best cooks actually live in North Mississippi. So when you say Memphis barbecue, you're really talking about the people of North Mississippi too, or Mississippi in general. When you get all the way down to the Delta, those roots travel up towards Memphis.
Right.
The blues, barbecue, everything. but when you really look at who's won contests and who's done what, a lot of these guys are from North Mississippi. They're not from Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of misconception about dry ribs in Memphis. There is the Rendezvous, of course, that's known for their dry ribs, and it's kind of almost like a tourist trap. I don't want to say it like that. It has a great ambiance.
Well, you just did.
Like that. but what I mean by that is a lot of people order a wet rib and they want it with dry rub on top. They want it the muddy style.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if
muddy
that's more,
style.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more of a Mississippi thing or not, but when you really go to these restaurants in Memphis, not a lot of people are having them as a dry rub rib. I think that's a misconception.
That's great. This is good info. And I agree with you about the Mississippi style. And so how would you define Memphis barbecue?
More on the sweeter side. Because who don't like something sweet on your lips, but everybody wants that little bit of spice in the back of their mouth. You don't want nothing that's going to be over dramatic sweet.
Right.
So I think Memphis barbecue and Mississippi barbecue kind of coincide the same. They have some Kansas City flair with a little bit of the smoke and things like that, depending on what location you go to. You see that some people use liquid smoke in their barbecue sauces, and I feel like that's a big Kansas City style thing for a smoky style barbecue sauce, where you see more of a tomato based sauce in our area with more of the brown sugar in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, your barbecue line is extensive. You have what? Rubs, sauces, injectables.
Injections. We do. We have a little bit of everything, and constantly developing more and more products.
And where is your factory? Where do you mix your stuff, and who comes up with the recipes?
Well, I come up with all the recipes and the R&D. And now that we've gotten so big, about 10 years ago, we started having a manufacturer make it for us, and they're based in Mississippi. And all the dry seasoning is made in Hernando, Mississippi, at a place called Tastemaker Foods. So we give them our recipe, and we have to sign an NDA and all that kind of stuff, and they make it for us, and we buy from them and resell it. And then all the wet spice and glazes, or wet, like sauce and things like that, is made in Pearl, Mississippi. And it's made at a place called Reed Foods. And they're owned by the same company. Two brothers, one runs one and one runs another.
Wow. That's very cool. So what you do that you're describing us now is your full-time gig, right?
It is a full-time gig, and I'm glad to say that we employ 14 other people as well. And we also have a warehouse staff of, I think, 9 that works for us all the time, that just pulls orders and ships orders.
Well, you taught me how to make some baked beans this morning. I watched one of your videos, and it looks like you have quite a healthy operation making videos on YouTube. So let's talk about that a little bit.
We do. We're very fortunate enough. I got started with the YouTube, I think it was 5 years ago, something like that, 5 or 6 years ago. And we just really hit 100,000 subscribers a couple months ago. But since then, it's already jumped up another 30 something, I think. And so we release one video every week. I'm not like some of these people that do a lot of the short form, a lot of the what we call influencers out there nowadays, because the short form video just don't correlate with people, and they can't go back and rewind it and really focus in on recipes and learning aspect of it. So we continue with the long form and try to make every video at least 8 to 15 minutes long and making it more educational, but basically just about food. And we drop that every Thursday. And then we got into shooting our own podcast as well to talk about that and bring on other cooking guests and enthusiasts and local business people, or just other interesting people in general on the podcast. And we do that every Tuesday.
Where can our listeners find your podcast and your YouTubes?
It's called Shooting the Q on our podcast, and it's on every platform out there available, I think. And our everything from social media to YouTube is under our name, Heath Riles BBQ. So if you Google either or for either one of those, you'll find it.
Well, you have some really creative things on your YouTube. I think last week's, or a couple of weeks ago, you had the apple pie baked beans. That was unique.
I'm just getting hungry listening. I'm like, I want a barbecue sandwich.
I know. Then back in May, they had this grilled peach chipotle pork chops.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
what I want.
You can have that for the pork chop club.
Yeah.
But we want them flavorful as well. I don't want to do anything that's super hard. You know, you see a lot of people do recipes and it's so many steps and so many things you have to go buy at the store. I try to keep it within 5 or 6 ingredients is all you need, and I just want to make good food. It don't have to blow your mind every time, but I think now if you look at all the chips that are coming out, all the flavored candies and sours and savory stuff, people want that change. They're looking for that unique recipe or that unique flavor profile. So trying to marry all those flavors together and really just put something out there that'll catch somebody's eye is just something that we started doing.
And I have a question about where something's located. I want to know where your YouTube studio is located so that we can come visit it when you're making all this good food. So just if you could let me know that.
Actually, I just built a new studio, and it's at my farm. And so we have a huge filming kitchen there and pantry, and we have a huge grilling area and all that. And I'm just about to complete the other grilling area for it. But it's pretty good size.
Now, do you hire outside contractors to do your filming and your podcasting, or do you use your staff?
No, my staff. We have all in-house. We have full-time editor on staff, video people, social media people, secretary, assistant, HR department.
This is part of the 14 employees that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, sir.
I got you. Yeah. That's cool. So how often do you record a video, and how often do you do your podcast?
Well, we do the podcast every week. We do try to sometimes film up 1 or 2 episodes in advance, especially with travel schedules sometimes through the summer. Our cooking videos, we try to film every Thursday if I'm in town, sometimes on Tuesdays. But I try to film at least 3 to 4 videos every time I film. And so I'm always banking videos. And I think right now I'm out to maybe the beginning of August. But we're going back to film again this week and catch another 6 this week.
Great.
So I'm constantly trying to stay ahead because really and truly July and August is so hot that if you don't try to get it all done as soon as you can, I don't think it's very appealing to the people when sweat is dripping off.
Now, Java was talking about that earlier.
Worried about that.
Well, Heath, we got to run, man, but thanks a million for joining us. We'll have you back. Dig Deeper. Deep South Dining is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting's Think Radio, and we are funded by generous contributions from folks like yourself. For Marissa Vaughn, who engineered along with Java Chatman, we thank you. Thabi Moyo, Heath Riles, a co-host, Carol Palmer. I'm Malcolm White saying stay tuned for Everyday Tech at 10, Southern Remedy 11, and join us next Monday and every Monday and Sunday at 9 a.m. for more Deep South Dining.
This forecast is underwritten by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. Smarter, better healthcare. More at bcbsms.com.
Summertime weather pattern will continue, so we will see our best chance of showers and thunderstorms during the hottest part of the day.